it's interesting because when I went to the Monroe Institute, I picked up his his CD discs.
The Gateway
Uh,
Voyage.
yeah, the Gateway Voyages, and I
Yeah.
started to go through those, and I realized I'd already been taught that. I'm thinking, so somebody had jumped the gun and was teaching me all this stuff.
Hmm.
His exercises I'd already been through. Yeah,
Wow.
so it's like he was standing over my shoulder teaching me how to do this stuff before he put it on the tape.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's kind of why I went back there, because I went to do some astral projection classes, and I just wanted to see where I was at. And so when I was astral projecting, I was like here, and everybody else was doing their thing over here. So there's a difference in what you're doing and I'm doing over what they're doing. And you mentioned that planet thing. Is I would go to this planet. I was guided to this planet, and when you fly in to this planet, there's just a great big old green field of meadow. And in the middle of it, there's like a stone dwarf cottage type of thing, is the best way to put it, right? It's just like
Okay.
this little cottage there. And there's a big mountain off in the distance, and then there's an ocean right close to me as well. But it's sitting on a cliff like maybe 200 or 300 feet high. Yeah. And I come flying in there. When I first started doing it, there's my guide was with some guide was with me. She says, "This is your home." I'm like, oh, cool. I would sit out there on the shore up on the cliff, and I would look down and I could see the beach down there, but it was made out of pebbles, right? And this whole thing, you can look at the leaves, the grass is blowing, and you can see the energy attached to it as well. So it's like kind of a shadow that would follow it around. And I look down in the ocean, watch the waves come up, and you could see the energy from the waves come ahead of the waves, and then they would dissipate, and the water would actually hit the pebbles on the beach, but it wouldn't move the pebbles around unless the pebble said, "Hey, we want you to move us."
Oh,
So
wow.
they worked in concert with each other. Well, I've been doing that for quite a while, and I was sitting there one time, and this guy comes walking up to me. I don't know if he's like a wormhole keeper or something like that, but he comes walking up to me, looks at me. And this is after I'd had an experience where I felt like I had just walked out of my body.
Hmm.
And what actually happened was I shifted energies, and another me kind of pops in, the other one goes off and does his thing.
Mm.
He comes walking up to me, looks at me, says, "Who are you?" I was kind of puzzled. I was looking at him, says, "Well, I always come here. This is my place." He says, "Oh, no, you don't belong here anymore." Oh, really? Yeah. And you go off and you do your thing, and I can go back if I want, but it's like you've gone to a different
Right. Oh,
energy
you've
energy
shifted.
level. You've shifted. Yeah.
Okay.
And
Oh, wow.
so there's another thing waiting for you somewhere out there. Yeah. And it's the same way I would go up to look at my Akashic records,
Hmm.
and I'd drop into what I would refer to as a human heaven realm, right? So
Yeah.
you drop into this human heaven realm, and there's this great the whole of Akashic records that I would go to. Now it's different for everybody because you can project it however you want, but
Right.
inside it's the same. Um, there are two Roman Greeks columns that must have been 100 feet tall, and these big boards right there. I mean, not big boards, but doors were sitting in front of me. They were about 30 feet tall. They had these knobs on them, and they would swing open for you when you'd approach, right? So
Yeah.
I'd approach, and there was this lady who would be waiting for me there, an older librarian looking lady dressed in some sort of robes and robe type of a garment. And I could ask her questions, and she would escort me around. And I would go, "Hey, have you got anything that I could go look at relating to me?" And she said, "Well, there might be some stuff over here, but you're not going to find an awful lot of it." So I go over there and look, and she'd come back, "Yeah, you're right." And we'd walk outside before I'd leave. And after a couple of times, I noticed there were just like all these people standing out in front of the library, this Akashic Record Hall, right? I said, "What are they doing?" She says, "Oh, they don't see your type here very much."
Oh,
Ooh,
yeah.
which I've heard that 3 or 4 times as I've been about, so it's
What's
your
your
type,
type?
which is alien type, right?
Yeah,
Uh,
star being. Yeah.
and so you're a star being, but they don't see your type here, and they're curious. So this, and I looked at it, I said, well, where can I find some information about myself? Then if I can't come here and there's nothing here that I can really get into, where do I go? She says, oh, come with me. So should we walk around the building, or I'll go up these steps and off to the side of the building, in we'll walk through a doorway, and there's all these shining beads that are coming down, look like from the ceiling. They're like a DNA, they're like a helix. These
Oh,
glass beads, kind of like you got a glass beads of the 60s, you hang them up in your door and you'd be able to
yeah.
move. They're kind of like that, but they were all over the place and they were shiny. And like they're made out of glass, just one helix. It kept going down, 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 and they had no end, they had no stop. I says, well, where? She looks at this and says, you're that one right there, and this is where you are in the timeline. I'm like, oh.
Oh, wow.
So I reach over, I touch it, and they wouldn't let me remember anything about it. So
Yeah. I
yeah,
get a lot of that too. They tell me
yeah,
I pass out.
yeah. They pass out. Oh yeah, there's this on one particular planet. You're talking about planetary adventures.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, I fly out of my body. Yeah, I can see all my chakras light up, and I shoot out of my body, and I go up, and I'm on another planet. I'm getting like it's Alpha Centauri,
Hmm.
you know, and it's on. There's a purple moon. I mean, purple planet right next to it. There's another planet, and I'm on a purple planet. Everything looks purple, right? For whatever reason. And we have this little experience where I walk around and I meet up with a bunch of people in a star chamber, what I call a star chamber. And as I'm ready to leave, he looks at me and I look at him. I says, I'm not going to be able to remember this, am I? He says, no, you're not going to be able to remember all this. I says, why? He says, your physical body and your physical mind is not capable of
That cable.
handling the energy that's associated with it, with what you're doing, because you're doing this on a light level. And your DNA is not capable of being able to hold on to it. I mean, your DNA can hold it, but it can't. You you can't access it.
Right. Your body can't
Yeah,
process it yet.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And so it's for your protection that you're not going to be able to remember it, most all of this, whatever happened up there. And that
That's
makes
what they.
sense because, yeah, I was on a, I did the same thing, this data thing that I do, and boom, I'm out of my body. I just say, take me to the nearest ship, right? I'm just curious. At this time, I'm just out exploring and getting
Yeah.
into trouble here and there, but just kind of exploring because I'm naive and I'm thinking, yeah, look at me, I'm so cool, man. I'm naive, right? I say, take me to the nearest ship. So I pop onto the ship, and there's two cat people on the ship. It's up above the planet. They're floating there, and the guy, the guy cat person, there's a man and a female, a male and a female, and the male guy is running up and down some stairs from the top of the ship down the bottom of the ship, and he's getting really frustrated. He looks at me and says, "Can you help me?" So yeah, you go over the flux capacitor has connect to the yada 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 and yada yada yada. And if you do this with a, you know, I can't even remember the words that I was saying, but they were so far out of my category of expertise for this human mind that when I came back into my body, I'm thinking, wow, I got to remember that, man. That sounds so cool. I got to write this down, but I couldn't figure out how to write it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
and
know that's it. That's kind of frustrating. I have memories of being on a just pop out and I'm on a ship
yeah,
and I'm with other beings and we're having this meetings or something like that more than once and everything's holographic right in front of us like you see in movies kind of thing, and we're
hmm
moving all the holographic images around and I see planets, they're holographic. I see beings and they're moving around. We're communicating about them and things like that. So it's on some holographic viewer and we're talking about whatever we were talking about. I was not able to bring any of the memories back.
No, you can't. I've had that when I've been going under for like a dentist to put the gas on me. They used to put the gas on you all the time, and because the Novocaine wasn't working. You know, they'd shoot it up and I'd spill everything that was going on. It was really painful. So they'd
Oh
start doing the
yeah.
gas,
Oh,
and the gas worked really well. But when they put the gas on, I was going into this other space and I was having these fantastic communications, and all this information was just flowing into me. And I'm thinking, oh my God, that's so cool. That's so cool. I'm going to write that down. I'm going to get out of this. I'm going to get a piece of paper. I'm going to write all this down. And the minute they take the gas off, it's gone.
it's gone.
And it's like, I mean, you remember bits and pieces, but you don't, you know,
It's not coherent, no
yeah,
coherency like you have there. So yeah,
yeah,
and
yeah,
we're accessing our multidimensional selves, and where we're
yeah.
doing really cool stuff.
And then we pop back in this meat suit, and it's like, I don't
I
know,
know, right?
I'm here again. You know, like,
Yeah.
yeah,
I remember asking my guide one time, when I was out of body and we were having conversations and doing things, doing lots of stuff, um, saving the world or whatever, the universe, that kind of thing.
mm,
And I said,
sometimes that doesn't work out very well.
yeah,
Yeah.
no, right?
Mm.
Yeah, totally. I said, can I just stay here? Can I just stay here? And he said, no, you're about 2/3 of the way done on Earth. I'm like, oh, okay. That's another 30
Yeah,
something years at least. Yeah. So I'm like, all right. And then I'm back. But
yeah,
life's good
yeah,
here too. But it's just such a contrast, isn't it? Which is why we're here, I guess. A lot of
yeah.
it.
It's dense is how I put it. It's so dense
Right.
and everything's compact. It's like you're in a pressure cooker,
Yeah.
and it's everybody. People bought this. I get some bad vibes from people on this one, but it's they'll say, well, once we reach 100th monkey, you know, we could change this planet. Human beings could change the planet. And I'm thinking to myself, no, 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 that's not how it works because there's an equilibrium point that the planet reaches to protect itself simply because it's in that energy sphere of time and space. And because it's sitting there, it has to do the equilibrium thing. And the equilibrium thing for the planet and the space that we're at has to have balance.
Balance.
So if
Yeah.
that 100th monkey, if it gets close to the 100th monkey to really just boom, then the balance keeps up on the other side, on the negative
Yeah.
side to balance it out. And it just keeps bouncing back and forth until it gets to a place in space and time where it can change itself. And once the planet goes through that change, then yeah, we can all just kind of bounce up with it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm a firm believer that it's a planet that's doing the talking and we're the ants that are surrounding it.
I agree. Yeah, I totally agree. And that's why we're here to help the planet, help her. Yeah,
Hmm.
with
Hmm.
her. It's not about us as much as it's about the Great Mother. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's very much, that's a very shamanistic point too, is about the
Yeah.
great mother, you know, Pachamama.
Yeah, I
And
had an experience with the Great Mother and I got goosebumps now and I had never even heard that term before. I mean, I know a little bit about shamanism, but I work with White Cloud. He came to me and uh lots of experiences. And but I remember lifetimes as a native indigenous person in this country. But one time I was talking, thinking about maybe trying ayahuasca. I'd heard a lot about it. This was 5, 6, 7 years ago, I guess. And I realized that I didn't have to take the 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 medicine itself because the next morning, well, one morning I was in Montana visiting my boyfriend's mother. We were up there for Christmas, and that morning I shifted and went um into the forest, and I see my dog who had passed a few years earlier, and I follow, and she's beckoning me to follow her into the woods behind the house. So I
mhm.
follow her, and I see these Native Americans sitting around a fire, and for some reason I recognize them. Ah, and so I approach them, and I see and I know in my soul and in my heart I see a woman there, and I know that she's a representative of the Great Mother, and I understand that ayahuasca is mother medicine. And so and I kneel down and I fall to my knees and I and I'm like, please forgive me for my failures and all this and everything, for everything I've done to you, and blah 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 and all this. And she's I just feel so unworthy, and she tells me to to stand up, and she takes my hands and she gives me lots of information that she wanted me to pass on, which I did. And I'm writing a book now, so I'm including it in my book.
Cool.
Yeah, and so that was a really cool experience. And then a Native American male comes up to me and he says, elder, there were elders, and he says, I've heard of you. You work with the dead, because I do spirit rescue and things like that, and soul retrieval, that which is really shamanistic work, that type of thing.
Yeah.
And yeah, my guides taught me how. And he said we appreciate that you do that, which was really cool.
Mm.
Yeah. And so that was my I realized that was my ayahuasca experience, the mother experience.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's very
that's
cool.
awesome that you have something like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally. um there were some other questions I wanted to ask. Okay, so I know that oh, if you have a minute, where are we? About 5:19. um I
Yeah, I'm
said,
fine. I've got whatever. Yeah,
okay.
I'm good.
And okay, so you talked about your gray being injecting something into to open your third eye, right?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I want you to share that. I saw not that long ago, a couple years ago, where a hand in that theta state. Well, you share yours first.
Okay. I was laying in my bed one morning, and it was like early morning in the summer, probably about June or July, I'm thinking. And there's a window right up above my bed that is like on the ground floor. So I'm actually underneath the ground. And so the window is right there at the ground floor, maybe 3 or 4 inches off the ground, right? And does have a screen on it. It's just got you can hear in the morning, you can hear the drapes fluttering back and forth. And so I'm laying there early morning. The sun probably had just come up, and I hadn't opened my eyes yet. And I was just kind of thinking, man, do I want to get up right now, or do I want to get another couple hours of sleep? You're in that state where you can hear everything that's going on, and you just want to. It's real easy just to fall back to sleep again and just stay in
Right.
bed, right? So I'm sitting in that state thinking maybe I ought to get up and get my son up and get him going. And I hear this cat in the room, and it's just a little purr, you know. I'm listening to it for a minute. It says the damn cat got in the house, right? Came through the window and got in the house. Now he's just sitting there. Well, I'm facing the wall, not the wall, but I'm facing out into the room, and the edge of the bed is right in front of me. So the cat had to be floating right there in midair. And I'm having a hard time putting this together. And then I hear it make out a real loud purr, like they'll do like they're trying to get your attention or something. I hear meow, a damn cat, because we lived on a kind of a pseudo farm. We had a lot of barn animals all over the place. We had cows, not cows, but we had pigs and chickens and horses and cats and dogs and rabbits, and we had a little bit of everything. And we had a cat up to that point, but it took off. It was, as they do sometimes, you let them out in the wild, they'll just go
Yeah.
find another home somewhere, right?
Right.
So he had taken off and been gone for maybe about 3 or 4 months. And I'm thinking, the damn cat's floating in my bed. Maybe I better get him up, get out of here. And I think, wait a minute, I don't have a cat. What the hell is this cat doing in the room, right? So I open my eyes, and the minute I open my eyes, my body freezes. I can move my eyes around, just look around the room like that, but I'm frozen in my bed, and I'm staring straight at this gray hand. In the left hand, you can see the three fingers and the opposing thumb it was holding this little blue oval shape. On the end of it, you can see it was oval, but there was a luminescent blue rod in his hand, maybe about 3 inches long, maybe it was about that long. And he's holding it in his hand, and I'm thinking, what the hell? It's not a cat, right? And it reaches up towards my head and sets it right here in my third eye. And I can feel it. It's kind of cool. It's a lot of times the best way to describe it is a cool electrical energy. I don't know how else to put it. It feels like a cool electrical energy. And this other hand pops up, and it's flat like this. And you hear it go, and it hits that rod, starts driving my head. I can feel my head bouncing off my pillow. My head is physically moving.
Wow.
And it bounces back in place, and he goes, bam! He hits it like about 9 times, and there's only maybe an inch of it sticking out of my head, and then all of a sudden his hands give way. You hear it just go, sucks into my head. And the minute it happened, the hands gave way, and I spring up out of bed. I go, what the, explicit here words,
Mm,
right? I said, what the
mm.
hell has happened there? And I immediately hear a voice. I said, "This is advice to activate your third eye and to monitor events. We'll show you how to activate it tomorrow." I didn't even, I don't know why I didn't question it. I didn't think anything about it. It's just like, wow. So I feel this tingly sensation in my head as I'm going about my day, and it kind of gives way, and I'm able to just go do whatever I'm doing that day. It wasn't a work day; it was just a day I was out messing around. And that night, I go to sleep. I'm thinking about what these guys are gonna, what the deal is with this. What are they going to do with this? I mean, why can't I just have them pull it back out? Why do I have to have it in my head? And nothing happens. I just lay in bed for a couple hours waiting to see if something's gonna happen. Nothing happens. So I just drift off to sleep, and like about 3 a.m, I hear a voice. I wake up immediately. I hear another voice says, "Get up, sit up straight in bed. Have a, we're going to show you how to activate the device now." Right? So I sit up and I say, I'm sitting up in bed, my legs are crossed, and I said, make sure your back is straight. And focus on the energy down on your bottom spine. And what they were doing was they're teaching me how to do the Kundalini.
Mm.
Right? And they say, draw the energy all the way up through your spine and shoot it out through your forehead. So I do that. They said, just focus on your forehead. It'll go through your forehead. So I did that, and boom, it just pops out, and immediately it just starts burning really bad right through there. Right? I mean, it was just like somebody took a little iron or something, and you could feel all the hair on my head just tingling. All the
Oh,
pores of my head is just tingling, like, you just put some sort of brand of shampoo on your hair or something like that, but it just sticks there. And it was tingling so bad, I had a hard time laying my head back down on your pillow. But before I laid back down, he says, the device has now been activated. And so I just laid down there, and if it took me a couple hours to get back to sleep because it felt so uncomfortable, all the tingling in my head and the hairs of my head.
yeah.
So the next 2 weeks, I developed a rash right here on my head, and the skin was actually peeling.
Mm.
And people look at me and say, "Well, what's wrong with your head?" I said, "Yeah, you really want the story?" Yeah,
Yeah.
I said, "I don't know, I must have got a sunburn there or something, right?" And it took
Sunburn.
another,
Yeah.
yeah, it took like a month for
I got this
the
device in my
tingling.
head that
Yeah, this device is in my head. It's a little blue device. The aliens put it there. I'm sure it's
yeah,
useful for something, but
but no big deal.
whatever.
No big
No,
deal.
we go back to work. It's it's like that time I had a heart attack, and I was walking to the store, walking home from the store after I had a heart attack, and I was carrying a couple bags of ice, and I had a mini heart attack on the sidewalk. So I just sat down. A lady walks by to me, and she says, "Are you all right? Do I need to call an ambulance? You look pale." I said, "No, I'm fine. I just had a small heart attack. I'll be all right. Go about your day." Like, she looked at me like, "It's crazy." I was like, "I'm all right. Uh,
Okay.
I'm okay. I'll just catch my breath." And it would have been the same thing. You look at him and say, "Hey, it's cool. It's just an alien thing they plugged into my head."
Maybe one
Um,
day, maybe one day
yeah,
we can have those
and it
conversations.
kind of just boom opened up my third eye big time. I mean, I was
Yeah.
things just clicked, and I was just out flying around all over the place, and spirits and all that kind of stuff started popping up, and like, yeah,
Wow, that's crazy.
yeah, yeah.
So it's still wide open?
Oh yeah, I had a incident happen where years and years and years ago, I actually had a mugshot taken. Okay, and it was for a traffic violation. That basically is what it was. Hey, you have any insurance? We're taking you in because there's a warrant out now for you. Boom. Well, thank you so much, sir. It's the only time I've ever been in jail as an adult is just for lack of insurance. And there's a long story behind that. It was a setup,
Yeah.
kind of too. And you know, um, and they were all looking at this mugshot saying, "God, that's really weird. You see that eye right there in the middle?" I said, "But it wasn't like going like this. It was diagonal." And they
Oh,
showed it to me. I said, "Yeah, can I have that when I leave?" They said, "No, because that would have been really cool, man. I was so angry and so mad for having to be there. But they take this mugshot and it must have projected this eye that was like clear as day,
oh, that's
and it
crazy.
wasn't, there's no way it could have been like a camera flaw or something, because if it was, it would have been level this way instead of doing a 90-degree angle like that. It looked
Wow,
really weird, really,
that
really
is
bizarre.
crazy. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
it's interesting. When I had my Kundalini awakening 20 years ago, and I didn't even know what it was. I just figured I was going crazy. Um, and I could
Welcome
look
to the
in,
club. Yeah.
yeah, I know, right? Yeah, yeah. Um, I could look in the mirror. When I look in the mirror, I'd see my third eye. I could see it in the mirror.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, totally. But the that I love. Well, your story is a little more aggressive than mine with the when yeah, it wasn't a device. It was I saw, and this was like I said a couple years ago, where first I was in meditation one evening, and I see this. It looked like a winged being, like an angel, fly down toward me and to me, and takes his finger, male, and it's a light. It's his finger is full of light and touches me on my forehead, on my third eye, and then flies off. And uh and I think I have these in order. I was in an out of body experience, and I was with my guide at the time, and something we were doing, he did the same thing, and he took his finger and touches me on my third eye, and I feel the light.
Yeah.
And then the more I guess I should say the more profound one, or the one that was the most light that they gave me, was I was waking up in that theta state, and I saw this hand, which was like a gray hand. It long fingers, but it was five fingers, and long fingers, and they were white, filled with light. I could see the veins in the hand. It was just as clear as day. I could see the veins in his hand, and he touches me on my third eye. I see the hand come down, touches me on my third eye, and he says, and I could feel it, and he says, "You are moving from the land of the dead into the land of light."
Oh, that's so cool. Yeah.
I'm like, yeah. So, and I mean, my third eye, I it's always been, ever since my quickening 20 years ago, I've had a pretty good third eye. There were times when it would close it, I saw a door shut down on it. But yeah, I could tell it helped me quite a bit. But then I was freaking out, like, okay, so if I died and I don't know it and I'm moving, because since I do spirit rescue, that kind of thing. So I was having all these thoughts come up. But that's pretty cool. What you were talking about was a lot more
Yeah,
intense.
but I like your story better because you're dealing with luminous beings that walk through portals. It's one of the things that